Five Nights at Freddy's went from being a small indie game to a YouTube sensation to a lore-heavy game series to a live-action movie. The original game was developed by Scott Cawthon and came out in 2014. Cawthon used to create Christian-based, family-friendly games, but when he received complaints that his character models looked too scary for kids, he decided to lean into that and make an intentionally scary game about killer animatronics at a pizzeria. Admittedly, I'm only familiar with the original game, so I can't speak to the sequels or the deep lore that this franchise has developed over the years. I will say that I love the atmosphere of the original game. You play from the point of view of a security guard, and your only task in the game is to simply survive as the animatronics try to storm into the room and kill you. The audio in particular adds a lot to the unsettling atmosphere. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes you hear creepy voices, and sometimes the robots give you a loud jump scare out of nowhere. It's made for some classic reaction videos on YouTube.
I don't like him. Ah, fuck! No! Oh, yeah!
Stay out, you bitch!
What? What happened?
With the massive following this franchise has, and its unique concept, Five Nights at Freddy's felt tailor-made for Blumhouse Productions, which specializes in weird, unique horror movies. The game has such a well-crafted way of beginning with a quiet atmosphere and slowly building up the horror and scares, and that should have translated perfectly to a movie. Unfortunately, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie that we got was a mountain of wasted potential. While it did make an honest effort to stick with the original look and lore of the game, it didn't execute it very well. It wasn't scary, the jump scares were all telegraphed, the plot was way too complicated, and we spend more time in our main character's mind than we actually do at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. I'm going to be talking about some heavy spoilers in this movie, so if you haven't seen it yet, this is your warning. Our main character is named Mike, played by Josh Hutcherson, who turns in the only good performance. The rest of the acting in this movie feels pretty stiff and unnatural, but Hutcherson really brings his A-game and allows us to empathize with his character. When he was 12, he was in charge of watching his little brother, who was then kidnapped by a stranger, never to be seen again. Mike's parents are no longer in the picture, and he's the sole caretaker for his little sister Abby. His aunt wants custody, but the problem is that she's the worst human being alive. Mike also takes pills that force him to sleep often because he wants to return to the memory of his brother's kidnapping as he dreams, and see if there's any details that he missed about the man who took him. Yeah, he has this bizarre ability to control himself in his dreams and scope them out, like something out of Inception. But unlike Inception, which explains in detail how this is possible, we never get a good explanation as to how Mike can actually do this. Mike is desperate to hold down a job and keep custody of Abby, so he accepts a job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a rundown pizzeria from the 1980s that shut down because 5 children went missing. The owner is nostalgic, which is why he keeps the place running, but Mike never meets any of the building owners or fellow employees before accepting the job. He only talks to a career consultant played by Matthew Lillard, who totally isn't the twist villain. But no, seriously, I saw that twist coming a mile away. Mike also meets Vanessa, a cop who seems to know more than she's letting on, and she's apparently the only cop in the entire town because we never see her with a partner, and she apparently has the freedom to hang out with Mike and Abby even when she's on duty. Not to mention there's the fact that several people die in this movie, but none of their deaths are investigated. Mike soon discovers that the animatronics are alive, and they seem to love Abby, who's had a longing to make friends. Mike, Abby, and Vanessa interact with them early in the movie and even hang out with them. But the movie played its hand way too early with these animatronics. We get a slasher-type scene where they kill people at the very beginning, but then we're supposed to later believe that they're friendly and harmless. Of course, they then go back to becoming killers by the end of the movie, but the tension that could have been there in the third act was already gone. Compare this to Megan, which I think executed this concept much better. Megan started as an advanced AI toy and a great companion for the little girl, but we slowly see her protective and violent tendencies in the second act, and then she becomes a full-on monster in the third act. This was a great way to gradually build tension throughout the course of the movie. Five Nights at Freddy's could have done something similar, where they start off friendly, but then we slowly realize their intentions to make Abby like them. The movie can't seem to decide if we're supposed to love the animatronics or be afraid of them, and their motivations are all over the place. We find out that the animatronics are possessed by the spirits of the 5 missing children, and that Matthew Lillard is the puppet master who controls them. He also happens to be Vanessa's father, and the one who kidnapped Mike's brother, but the movie doesn't give us a good explanation as to why he's really doing all of this. Mike's brother isn't even shown to be one of the animatronics, so that whole plotline kind of seemed inconsequential. Of course, Mike evades the animatronics at the end, and Abby turns them on Matthew Lillard by drawing a picture that reveals the truth. The ant is also killed by one of the animatronics, so Mike, who somehow isn't the leading suspect for his aunt's death, gets full custody of Abby. And that's about it. The plot was convoluted and confusing, and we spend way too much time in Mike's mind. The dramatic scenes outweigh the scares, and the movie has tonal issues. Is it a drama? Is it a comedy? Is it a horror movie? It tries to be a mishmash of all these things, but doesn't really succeed at any of them. The movie would have been better served if it were just a straightforward slasher film. No deep dives into Mike's psyche, no twist villain, just an average dude trying to survive a group of killer animatronics. The game executed this concept well, but the movie made it more complicated than it needed to. The scenes where the animatronics do kill aren't as scary as they should be, and they happen too quickly, which contrasts the slow build of the games. Not to mention, they don't even play the Toreador March at any point in the movie. Yeah, to people who know the games, it's an iconic piece of music that ties in closely with the game, as it's the music that plays just before Freddy kills you. It's become synonymous with the Five Nights at Freddy series. Heck, the movie trailer even played a version of it. But it was nowhere to be found in the film itself. Disappointing. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's. What are yours? Please leave a comment, like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a good one.